On the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, E.W. Gannett.
Well, hello there, and welcome to Mars X3D, episode 102. This is your buddy Dave, and for those of you who are new to the channel, let me give you a very quick orientation. That is that this is an X3D channel, and you must learn that viewing technique, which is a lot of fun, takes about 2 minutes to learn, and you'll find the links right down below in the description. On top of that, each image will have a data bar with all the information you need to look at and understand the original image. The URL has been placed in the data bar in a convenient shortened form, so it's very easy to type. Or you can always find the links down below in the description. So you can click and go to the actual image that I extracted. Now some people will say, oh, you can't copyright NASA products, JPL, Cal. You can't copy. They're right, you can't. But after you do extraction, processing, compositing, and all the other various things that you see happen in a finished image, that then becomes intellectual property. And that, of course, is copyrightable. So anyway, enough of that orientation. If you have questions, send them to me at the email below. Meanwhile, we have some really neat stuff to look at this week, and quite a lot of it, because I'm reporting from the Sunrise Command in the far north woods of Maine. And I'm being very, very lazy. So there are not a lot of episodes this summer, but the ones that come will be loaded. So anyway, let's dive in. We're going to start today with an interesting find by Alexander Leah, who has been doing X3D on our Facebook site. So we're delighted to see what he has to offer. Anyway, these are NavCam shots from Curiosity 3145, and while they're not high resolution, they have a ton of depth. So let's move in on that green square. Well, you can see the blocky JPEG artifacts in here, but nonetheless, you can see that these almost appear mechanical. As a matter of fact, let me point out something that I find interesting. Besides being a near perfect cube, the arrow is pointing out what looks like a pipe or some kind of circular opening. And of course, then there are all those pieces attached to it. Not enough detail to tell what they are, but it really does look pretty mechanical to my eyes. This really looks like mangled metal shards to me, pieces that have been corroded, rusted, torn, mangled, and worn away by sand over the millennia. But they really do have kind of a purposeful look. Not only in the shapes, for example, that right angle shape, the second one back, but they look like they could be instrument housings or boxes or some kind of container for whether it's electronics or something else, we don't know, but definitely doesn't seem natural to me. Along those same lines, here's one I ran across in one of Neville Thompson's GMAX of 3151. And, well, let's take a look. You can see that big chunk of stuff there in the back. Let's start out by noticing that little piece down in the left-hand corner. Kind of a cylinder with a hole through the side. Very strange. But going back to that main chunk that's in the middle, I mean, look at all of the square angles, the little pieces coming off of it. Right at the very top there, what looks like another hose attach point. Very metallic to the way it presents itself, but especially that piece on the left and back really looks like plate work. It's obviously square. It's got either rivets or mounting plates or holes or something in there, possibly a hinge in the middle. Kind of hard to tell, but the overall effect is definitely not natural. You know, someone needs to explain to me how that piece in back could happen naturally. And just a reminder, if you're an anomaly hunter and you haven't discovered Neville Thompson's amazing catalog of GMAX or Gigamacros, boy, are you missing out. This one is covered with all kinds of anomalies. There's lots in this picture, but I wanted to concentrate on a couple of small items. And of course that means they're going to be a little bit blurry, but they're worth having a peek. So what do you make of that thing right in the center? Pretty neatly divided cubical compartments in there, isn't it? And a nice round protrusion on the right side, and of course all those 90-degree non-fractal angles. So that is something definitely manufactured, and it's not real clear, but look in front of it. All that honeycomb stuff and that beautiful triangle with the sphere in the center of it on the left, and the bent pipes, and well, there's a whole lot right there. Sure wish we had high-res photos. Wouldn't that be a treat? In another part of this same GMAC, we have another, well, it seems to be a manufactured part down there in the green box. Most of you should be able to see a perfect hole right through the center of this square, and it even has kind of a lip around it. On the right side, it appears that the square itself has some thickness because we see two openings. And on the left side, another square attached to it at an angle with what might be a rock in back of it, or could be a hemispherical protrusion. Try saying that 3 times fast. Percy continues to yield up some pretty interesting finds, and this is one that my buddy Laney Gabor found in Neville Thompson's G-Pan of Percy 130. This kind of reminds me of a propane bottle, especially that top on the right. And, it could be a rock, but look how even the shapes are. The large one on the left, the small one on the right. And then there's that cutout on the lower half, and the square item in front of it. Who knows? But definitely not a natural formation, in my opinion. Here's something Martine Graney ran across just the other day in one of Neville's GMAX, again of 3153, the MR, obviously the right mass cam, that's what MR stands for, a northern view. Now, this one's a puzzler, isn't it? I kind of have to agree with Martine that this looks like a fuzzy little dragon. Of course, that's not what it is. It's not an animal. And it's more than likely some kind of very eroded piece of perhaps marine sediment that may have shellfish or mollusks in it, and gives this appearance. I think if you take the time to look around on this GMAC, you'll find similar types of items scattered all throughout. Erosion patterns which are very similar to this. But, it's really compelling. It looks like it's looking back over his right shoulder at you, doesn't it? It's got that little curly tail, or maybe, who knows, maybe that's an annelid of some kind sticking out, but a great find nonetheless, and puzzling. This is one my friend Maria Conceição Coelho, forgive me, Mary, forgive me for butchering your name. I tried, I really did. But, this is one from the very early Opportunity pans, day 40, Sol 40. And, of course, any number of anomaly hunters have pointed this one out. But Maria was the most recent one to share it with the general community. So I thought I'd dig in and let her have her name on it. As a matter of fact, Maria, why don't you pronounce it for us, so at least it's on the record?
Maria da Conceição Pereira dos Prazeres Coelho.
Thank you, Maria. Portuguese is really a beautiful language. I think you'll agree with me that it's almost impossible to look at this without thinking of a snail or a slug more properly, with those bulbous eyes on the end of those antennae and the long body. And of course, it's a little problematic to have something that's soft-bodied fossilized, but we do have examples here on Earth, so it can happen. The problem is, see, we have those manganese balls all over the place in this picture. And so this is most likely just a chance erosion. And although it's hard to imagine how those two balls managed to stay at the end of the stalks during the process of erosion. But all kinds of strange things happen on Mars. Anyway, a real compelling piece. I've always liked this one, and thank you, Mary, for sharing it. My buddy Laszlo Shabalix is a tireless researcher, and he seems to specialize in digging down into the smaller items. And I'm not saying this is a smaller item, but it's certainly smaller than the overall context view if you actually go to the link and look at this GMAC. But this one is pretty interesting in my book. As we get a bit closer, you can see what, well, it looks like a flying saucer, doesn't it? Inside the green box. I think we should get closer, even though it's going to get a little blurry. Okay. Is it a flying saucer? Is it an observation building of some kind? Or is it just a very strangely and uniformly eroded piece of rock? Well, I'm going to let you decide, but you know what? Before you make up your mind, have a look at a couple other things that I found that may help you. I found this one years ago, and it's about a mile away from the camera. I called it Adamski's Escape. Some of you may remember Georgia Adamski. He was one of the very first contactees in the 50s. He kind of started the whole flying saucer craze in the 50s, and this looks very similar to the types of saucers that he said that he saw. If you look closely, you can see what might possibly be landing gear underneath it. But again, this is an extreme telephoto shot. But wait, as they say, there's more. Back near the end of Opportunity's service life, way deep into 4,888 days on the mission. Good for it. Good little machine. But I snapped this picture of what appears to be a miniature flying saucer tucked under a rock. And look how the dome on top appears to be transparent, as if it were made of glass or plastic, and that there are two things inside. Are they heads? Are they lenses to a camera? What is this anyway? Is it really a mini disc, or is it just something I made up? And as long as we're looking at what might be possible craft on the surface of Mars, we must revisit Dean Sattler's Runabout, something he spotted last year, actually 2 years ago, and pretty compelling in my opinion. That looks so much like the front end of an aircraft, or like a speeder. You know, it looks like a jet engine on the side, on the right rear. I don't know, but it appears to be metal to me, and is of course a wonderful find by Dean Sattler. The point is, there are others which I won't trouble you with today, but there are many, many sightings of what appear to be saucer craft on the surface of Mars. Well, that seems to be a wrap for this particular episode. Thanks for stopping by and crossing eyes with me. Hey, a quick shout out to the Cross-Eyed Explorers and Jimmy Bob, our youngest X3D expert at the tender age of almost 7, I would say. But you know, if you saw something you liked, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. That's the only pay I get, and it does let me know whether to continue with this strange work. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. To all my friends and proud weirdos out there, you know who you are. Stay safe and stay weird. Until then, this is your buddy Dave, over Mars X3D. Be well.